those of you that haven't been here before, this is the series we're in. Where does life's compass point? What are the essentials really of Christianity? And the analogy we've been using is this. If you got lost in the forest and all you had to get back home was a magnetic compass, and you took it out, and instead of pointing to north, the magnetic compass always pointed to you, how helpful would that compass be? Wouldn't be helpful at all. Well, a lot of people think that the compass always points to them, that what they want to do is the right thing to do, and that if things don't go their way, somehow God doesn't exist or God is evil. So what we want to do in this session is to show you what the essentials of Christianity are and to point out that the compass doesn't point to us. The compass points beyond us to the Creator and the Sustainer of the universe. And we pointed out in the first session that even if God doesn't exist, whether God exists or not, we need to realize the compass doesn't point to us. We're not the center of the universe anyway, regardless of the question of God. Somehow Christians think we are, though, right? That somehow, gee, if things are going wrong in my life, there must not be a God, or God has forgotten about me, or something like that. Okay? So that's kind of the metaphor we're using here, this compass. And we're going through a number of questions that we're going to get to as we go through this series. Right now, we're still in the second question here. What is the Bible all about? And we said if we had to sum up the whole theme of the Bible in an acronym, it would be the acronym CRIME, C-R-I-M-E. What does the C stand for? Causality. It stands for creation. You could say causality, that we're causing, the universe was created and caused. What's the R stand for? It stands for rebellion. We're going to get into the rebellion issue today. We've talked a couple of sessions about creation already. We're going to finish up that discussion here tonight, and then we'll get into rebellion. How about the I? Yeah, the I is intervention. After there's a rebellion, the rest of the Bible is basically talking about the intervention that God engages in to come save the rebels who revolted against Him. What's the M? Mission. If all this is true, what's our mission as human beings? Why are we here? What's the purpose of life? What are we supposed to be doing? And what's E? That's where we're heading, eternity. We have paradise lost in Genesis 1, and we have paradise regained in Revelation. And everything in between is the story of God's intervention. He comes to redeem humanity. Now, the last couple of sessions, we spent a lot of time on creation. And we said there are three major reasons to believe in creation. The Bible, and we've given evidence in previous sessions that the Bible is true. Science, the evidence from the natural world shows that there was a creation. And also philosophy. And last time we spent a lot of time on philosophy, but we didn't get through all the evidence from the philosophical world that there really was a creation. So we covered the first two arguments. The first is that time had a beginning. So let's just review that very quickly. You remember we put this graphic up here. We said that here's today, the present, and these tick marks represent previous days. And we asked the question, could this line be eternal into the past? And we concluded what? It can't be eternal into the past. Why not? Because you'd never get to today. If there were an infinite number of days before today, you'd never get to today. But today is here. So we pointed out if the past were infinite, today never would have arrived. So the very fact that we're right here today shows that there could only be a finite number of days before today. So in other words, time had a beginning. And if time had a beginning, whatever created time must be timeless. And if you're timeless, do you have a cause? No, you don't have a cause because you didn't have a beginning. There's other reasons to believe God is uncaused, but we'll get to that later. So this was the first argument we talked about last week. Let me point out the Bible also talks about the fact that time had a beginning in several places in the New Testament. 1 Corinthians talks about before time began. 2 Timothy, same thing, before the beginning of time. And what this means is not chronologically before, but ontologically before. In other words, there was something prior to ontologically time, some timeless being, that God is beyond time. God is outside of time. Also, Titus talks about before the beginning of time, and of course Jude says the same thing, before all time. So the Bible agrees with philosophy that time had a beginning. The second reason that we believe that from philosophy that there was a creator is the fact that nature's goal-directed. Now, this is all review. If I'm going too quickly, you're going to have to go back and look at the last session. But we talked about the fact that nature's goal-directed. How many here have heard the name Thomas Aquinas? Have you heard the name Thomas Aquinas? I've mentioned in here before. Thomas Aquinas was a 13th century philosopher, theologian who lived from 1224 AD to about 1274 AD. He only lived 50 years, but he was prolific in his writing. He wrote over 100 books. And Aquinas talked about 5 proofs for God. 5 proofs for God. And this one he called his 5th proof for God. We're also going to talk about the first one here tonight. The 5th proof for God is the fact that nature is goal-directed. Nature's goal-directed. And what did he mean by that? Well, let's take a look at the planets.